Слава Ісусу Христу! Приємно вас усіх бачити. І ми розпочинаємо. І сьогодні в нас день п'ятий. А день перший був у суботу нашої конференції. Так що в нас вже неабияка дорога за нами. Перед нами сьогоднішній насичений і цікавий день, і тоді ще субота, від суботи до суботи. І мова йде про наш форум цілісного людського розвитку, який ми з вами разом у 2019 році розпочали. Сьогодні в нас вже 8-ма зустріч. Тішу, що маємо нагоду цю платформу разом із вами будувати і розвивати. І ми розпочнемо із того, що я з великою приємністю запрошу зараз до вітального слова Софію Опацьку. Софія Опацька є нашою проректоркою із стратегічного планування і розвитку університету. І Софія, так, я запрошую тебе до слова.
Слава Ісусу Христу! Мені подобається, що темп, як в суботу взяли, так, школа журналістики, так темп факультет і тримає. Це чудово. Дякую, що ви всі є тут. Це означає, що теми важливі, теми потрібні. Є, напевно, якесь бажання і потреба дискутувати на ці теми. Я так дивилась, знаєте, на сьогоднішню назву і трошки тут ми перекидувалися кількома думками. Про стійкість, напевно, ми вже доволі багато, як університети, написали і сказали публічно, і не тільки в Україні намагались відрефлексувати цю тему, але й на такому міжнародному рівні комунікувати про стійкість. Мені подобається, що є багато гумору про нашу стійкість. Та? Гумор допомагає нам виживати. І це поки, знаєте, це теж частина нашої стійкості, поки ми над собою жартуємо, доти ми розуміємо, що ми живі і стійкі. Безпеки хочуть всі, я думаю. Ніхто не розуміє, якою вона тепер є і що означає бути в безпеці. Але я думаю, що хочуть всі безпеки і на особистому рівні, і на інституційному, і на рівні країн. А солідарність, знаєте, вона в нас така хвилеподібна. То ми дуже підтримуємо один одного, солідарні один з одним, то ми починаємо виясняти якісь речі, але від того, напевно, наша солідарність не падає, тому що навіть коли ми виясняємо щось між собою, оцей конструктивний конфлікт, він нас веде далі кудись до якоїсь більшої стійкості. І знаєте, на завершення, може так скажу, тут є про міжнародні партнерства. Мій колега сьогодні чи вчора приїхав з Києва, каже: Софія, ти не повіриш, в Києві всі готелі зайняті іноземцями. Немає де поселитись. Я не міг поселитись, що точно так не було, вибачте, ні в листопаді, ні в грудні, ні в січні. В січні можна було отримати дуже великі дискаунти в будь-якому готелі в Києві. І можна було і номер продовжити, і знижку отримати. І одним словом, це означає, що є перспектива міжнародних партнерств. І я думаю, що це теж ознака, що безпеки, знову ж таки, хочеться всім. І, можливо, ми можемо знайти ще якісь такі, знаєте, новіші шляхи для нашої солідарності і більшої стійкості. Я бажаю продуктивних дискусій і, теж, може, якийсь гумор буде, не знаю.
Дякую, Софія. З гумором будемо працювати. Зараз, дорогі мої, я переключаюся на англійську мову, бо наша панель анонсована англійською мовою, і маємо з нами наших іноземців, так що прошу налаштуватися, кому треба налаштовуватися на англійську мову. So, I switch to English language now, and I invite our dear guests and panelists to the floor. And in a second, please just take your places, and then we'll start our conversation. Yeah. Just give us a second, and we'll be ready to start. Yeah, please, thank you. No, I'm sitting here. Yeah, sure. Yeah, let me begin by kind of repeating myself in English. This is our 5th day of the forum. Integral Human Development Forum, which is dedicated to the issue of solidarity in the times of disruption. And our panel is titled Solidarity, Security, and Resilience, Institutional Cooperation and International Partnerships. And let me begin by quickly introducing our distinguished panelists here. Professor Luciano Monti, welcome you to this panel, who's adjunct professor of European Union policies at Luis Guido Carli University in Rome. I'm happy to introduce Professor Sanshiro Hosaka, who's a research fellow at the International Center for Defense and Security in Estonia. Welcome to our panel as well. I'm happy to introduce Lyubov Tsibulska, who's founder and director of Join Ukraine and also head of the Center for Strategic Communication Information Security for the Ministry of Culture and Information. That was in 2021. And Mr. Gennady Kovalenko, who's director of the EDGE Autonomy Ukraine, director of the Department of International Defense Cooperation at the Ministry of Defense in 2023-2025, and he's Colonel of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Welcome to this panel, dear friends and dear colleagues. Let me begin by applause. Okay, yeah. Let's be interactive, or kind of have more interaction in this panel. Let me begin by saying a few things and kind of mapping where we are with regard to this question, to this issue, specifically at the Ukrainian Catholic University. Well, speaking of solidarity, I think that we all experienced that burst of solidarity back in 2022 when the war kind of exploded and escalated. And I think that in that solidarity and through that solidarity, Ukrainian agency was extraordinarily shown and manifested. And I also believe that this solidarity, which was so powerfully demonstrated in Ukraine, also moved far beyond Ukraine, essentially. And I think that Ukraine kind of triggered international solidarity to a large extent, and I think that's its powerful role which Ukraine played in building and shaping international solidarity over these years. When we are kind of thinking about the issue of solidarity, I think we begin to realize that that we want our solidarity and our experience, which we lived and are still kind of living through over these 5 years. We think that solidarity should eventually become and be transformed into infrastructure of security and resilience. So I think that's the most kind of important question we are asking ourselves, and we should be asking ourselves. And that's a kind of a question that we discuss here at the university. And our way of kind of responding to this question is by way of building, establishing platforms for discussion and for brainstorming, developing, building solutions, like this International Human Development Forum, which we started in 2019, and this is our 8th edition. I think it definitely has grown to this kind of a platform for thinking about the issues like solidarity and the future of the country. We just recently returned from Munich, where in 2024, by the way, we started a series of symposiums on security. And our series title, the title of this series is Moral and Religious Dimensions of Security. We decided to have this symposium just before the Munich Security Conference. So we end our symposium and the Munich Security Conference starts. So in 2024, there was the first symposium, and then in 2025, we had the next one. And this February, there was a third security symposium, which we organized jointly with the Munich University and the University of Notre Dame from Indiana. And in January, we started executive non-degree program in total defense. And I'm very much pleased that we have our partner Lyubov and Join Ukraine along with our Swedish partners who are part of that endeavor. And I view this program again as a kind of platform, if you wish, where we discuss and build some models and solutions. And Colonel Kovalenko is also he participates in that program. So there's kind of very direct partnership and connection in this regard. We in Rome in November of the last year, we had our first event jointly conducted with Luis University, and Professor Monti represents that university. And our hope would be that we jointly, both UKU and Luis University, will start an annual platform in Rome working on the issues related to the, I would say, ethical leadership in reconstruction, rebuilding. That's something we are working on, and we just kind of had the conversation discussion as to how we shape that platform. We are also planning, along with our partners in Estonia, from Tartu University, that's the place that you worked at and can know well, and our colleagues in Turku from Finland, to develop and launch a graduate program in security studies, in total defense eventually. So that's another kind of thing that we are kind of working on. There are a few more things. As we kind of said here this week, we are kind of planning and developing 2 events in Washington, D.C., and one of them is going to take place at the end of this month, and the second one is at the end of April. And the idea would be somehow just to kind of showcase our resilience. And the first event would be viewing and analyzing resilience kind of in more kind of looking in a historical way. And the second event would be more kind of future oriented, and that would be done with the University of Notre Dame, where we present the project that we are kind of working on. And Notre Dame, as you probably know, they kind of allocated $500,000 for joint kind of research projects with our university. So there are many things which are, I think, kind of going on, and that is our way, UKU way, university way, somehow of thinking about the future, dealing with the challenges, trying to shape solidarity and build the structures of solidarity. So after kind of mapping what we are doing as a university, I would be very much looking forward to kind of hearing from you, your reflections, your experience. And let me start and begin with our professor from Japan, Sanshiro Hosaka. You know Ukraine well. It's not only that you know Ukraine well, but you know Ukrainian language. And I witnessed that yesterday, because we just met yesterday, that you were a part of our conversations and panels. And you were not only kind of following the conversation, but you were asking questions in Ukrainian. So that's very much appreciated. And unfortunately, I don't think that we here in this room have as much knowledge and experience of Japan, which is kind of a sad part, I believe. But the lucky part is that we have you with us. And I would very kindly ask you if you can offer us a perspective, a reflection, which is kind of Japanese grounded, but looking at Ukraine and at the situation we are in, while keeping in mind the issue of kind of solidarity in the future of this region and of this part of the world. So the floor is yours, and we are welcome you to this panel. Just wait a few seconds. Just 5 seconds.
5 seconds? Okay. Thank you very much. And it is my great honor and privilege and a pleasure to come back to Ukrainian Catholic University. After 12 years, back in 2014, December, I spent a week here studying the Ukrainian language. Don't test my Ukrainian. It's gotten very rusty. But that was not my only reason for coming to Lviv then. I also came to Lviv in a sense to look for banderites, banderovce. It sounds ridiculous, But at that time, Russian propaganda was so strong. After Euromaidan and Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea, Western and Japanese experts, scholars, they just reproduced, Russian narratives about Ukraine, portraying Ukrainians as Nazis, far rights, or radicals, or this banderites, killing Russian-speaking people, or something like that. So I went everywhere in Lviv and turned every stone, Kurivka and Жидівська Kneipe and the Cafe Banderstadt. I looked for banderovцы, but of course in vain. I couldn't find anything that resembled what Putin called banderovцы. I also visited Lychakiv cemetery to see the graves of the prominent Ukrainians such as Volodymyr Ivasyuk. But there I came across the newly created section for soldiers killed in the ATO, anti-terrorist operation. There I happened to meet the parents of a 25-year-old Andrei who had been killed in the summer of 2014. And it was December when I visited this cemetery. And so the parents come to decorate their son's grave with a small Christmas tree and a new photograph. And his father, Andrei's father, used his bare hands to fix the grave because the grave was made of the soft soil, and after the rain it was just started to collapse. And the mother just looked at me and said that during the last call from Andrei from Lugansk, Andrei told her that he felt so sorry to see the bodies of Russian soldiers abandoned in the street. So that this visit to Lviv 12 years ago actually not only dispelled this, many Russian propaganda narratives for me, but also changed the course of my life. Although I had been trained as a Russianist, Russia expert, but I began to study Ukrainian language, culture, history seriously. I explored Ukrainian scholarship, different Ukrainian sources, and in 2018 I left my job in Japan and moved to Kiev to work for the Japanese embassy in Kiev, just temporary. And then, by the way, I met Lyubov there. In 2022, so 4 years ago, Japan as a government, but also the people, fully became pro-Ukrainian, fully pro-Ukrainian. But in hindsight, my Japanese friends and colleagues, we began this, preparing for this, full-scale invasion well before 2022. We started asking why so many Russia experts in Japan or Western countries, they are so naive. They just took Russian narratives at face value. So the year 2014 was disaster, not only for Ukrainians, but also for Japanese academic and the expert community. It was flooded with many Russian narratives. Actually, Russia experts, in Japan, were invited into Japanese TV studios to talk about Ukraine. And the Japanese politicians were influenced by Japanese members of the Valdai Discussion Club. If you know, this is the Russia-organized epistemic community for international scholars. But everything changed in 2022. Japan rediscovered Ukraine, and many of Russia's propaganda narratives were finally debunked. Japanese society became deeply empathetic towards Ukrainians resisting Russian aggression. You could even see this blue and yellow flags, and even small towns in Japan. And the Japanese media started sending correspondence to Kiev, not to Moscow. And they convey Ukrainian viewpoints to the Japanese public. And I would like to mention that actually my friend Takashi Hirano, who is the editor of the Japanese section of Ukrinform, who stayed in Ukraine in the most difficult times of this war. And he played a really significant role in this Japanese narrative shift. And last week, President Zelensky awarded him the Order of Merit. But in the 5th year of the war, full-scale war, Japanese society keeps paying closer attention to Ukraine. For example, one webinar I attended last week attracted more than 300 participants, and there are many other events that attracted more audiences. And recently, Japanese broadcaster NHK showed a documentary movie on the life in the occupied territories of Ukraine. And this documentary also got huge attention and from Japanese public. And the director of this film just yesterday wrote to me that movie was now translated into English, so it will be shown to the more broad audience. But today is no time for even the complacency, even in Japan. The international order in which the US has been the security provider, also the leader of the democratic world, is rapidly collapsing. And here are the three things I suggest for this panel, institutional cooperation and international partnerships. First, we should stop using the word assistance or support for Ukraine. Some of us have already become more careful selecting the word when we describe our relationship with Ukraine. So in the first, second year of the war, assistance may have been the right word, but now it is being replaced by the full-fledged cooperation and partnership, and I think it should be. In countries like Baltic states, Estonia, where I live, where the Russia threat is immediate, so the support for Ukraine can be sustained. You can find support for Ukraine relatively easily. But in other European countries, which are far from the front, also in the US and partially in Japan, we have seen the rise of far-right populism and the so-called Ukraine fatigue. So the people must be persuaded that close cooperation with Ukraine is not charity, but it is in our own interest. Second, and this is related to the first point, Ukraine has cards to play. Ukraine is not only the recipient of support, but it is a provider of knowledge, innovation, and security. Last year in Estonia, Ukrainian drone operators outperformed the 3 NATO battalions in an exercise. Ukraine has the strongest and most battle-tested army in Europe. It has invaluable combat experience as well as innovation in the drone and AI-enabled defense technology. So no doubt these capabilities must be integrated into the future European security architecture. And of course, Ukraine is now offering its interceptors to the US and the countries of the Middle East. So this is cooperation. And the third, the role of civil society will become even more important. So I think in the first, second year of the full-scale war, this Zelensky's extraordinary personal appeal, charm, has helped a lot. But like any political charisma, it is fading, with time and fatigue and the damage caused by the corruption scandals involving the people close to Zelensky last year. So Zelensky is very popular in Japan. Actually, 3, 4, or even 5 books have been published in Japan just to dedicate to Zelensky. But I often said to the Japanese public that Ukraine is not only Zelensky. The real strength of Ukraine lies in its civil society. And indeed, it was their voice that stopped these authorities' attempt to undermine anti-corruption institutions last year. So in the years ahead, civil society must come to the forefront. And we know that many alumni and members of the Ukrainian Catholic University or live region more broadly have been a major driving force of the Ukrainian civil society. And actually, yesterday I took part in this panel, this discussion, and I saw that so many great people from Ukrainian Catholic University. I'm very optimistic about that. So with this, I will stop here, but yes, that is the civil society is actually one of the reasons why we are here today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll just kind of note it to myself your 3 points. So let me just remind them. So the first one was stop assistance and do cooperation. And then the second one was Ukraine has cards. And the third one was about civil society and the power of civil society. So thank you for emphasizing these things. And I do believe that they will kind of enter into our discussion and conversation here at this panel. I'm going to turn the word now to you, Colonel Kovalenko, and you have, I would think, a rather broad and rich experience in military, which is kind of an obvious fact. What is less obvious is probably your international experience, which kind of melted somehow in and blended with your military experience. And we are very proud about our resilience, and people seem to be outside of Ukraine also marking and highlighting Ukrainian resilience. But I'm beginning to think often that resilience got to have a sense of vision as well. I mean, you don't want to have blind resilience, which is simply resilient for the sake of resilience. And we all realize that there's like an imminent threat kind of hanging in the air, which is our geography, not only. And I'd love to ask you as to what's the strategy for this Ukrainian resilience eventually should be, looking from the kind of present day perspective and thinking about the infrastructures we would like to build, infrastructures of solidarity, etc. So what's the strategy that you could kind of highlight in 7 minutes? Thank you.
First of all, I would like to say many thanks to the Ukrainian Catholic University for organizing this panel and for the invitation. Second thing that I would like to emphasize that on one critical thing in our life, it's time. Time, we will never buy time. That's why I would like to tell you 3 reasons why you should listen my beautiful Hampshire accent for next 7 minutes. So the first reason, I'm half Russian. My mother is Russian, so probably I understand that bastards better. Second reason, I was responsible for international support and cooperation from 2014. And the third reason, I have spent 4 years in NATO, Allied Command Transformation, Norfolk, Virginia, not as liaison officer, I'm not that intelligent, as a staff officer. So I work for NATO, so probably I know how NATO works, but the most importantly, I know how NATO doesn't work. So speaking about strategy, why we need strategy? One philosopher once told that strategy without tactics is the slowest way to the victory, but tactics without strategy is just noise before defeat. So that's why we need strategy. And our bloody experience tells us that the only strategy which works with Russia is strategy of deterrence. And deterrence not by punishment, we are not that rich nation, unfortunately. A strategy of deterrence by denial. So we must convince them, do not touch us. As simple as that. So this strategy of deterrence has 3 main pillars. One is international support, it's essential. Second is Ukrainian resilience. And the third is total defense. This is place of total defense for the strategy. So let me use this, it's 5 minutes, 12 seconds left, for the explaining of the first pillar, which is international cooperation or international assistance, partnership, whatever. So speaking about international cooperation, I can tell you brutally honestly, without support, forget about Ukraine. So we are dependent on the international support, full stop, just no lying. Speaking about international support, I suggest that 3 parts of that. First is political pressure. Second is economical sanctions. And third is technological embargoes. Speaking about political pressure, that's a good instrument, as my friend already told you, but that's not for the long time. Because politicians is coming and going, election is happening. You see how the European map changed for last 5 years, you know. So political pressure, that's good, but that's for the short run. That's not strategy for the long run. Second pillar is, or second element of first pillar is economical sanctions. Speaking about sanctions, it's workable mechanism, but there are two conditions for that. They must be targeted, so the general sanctions doesn't work. If we think that Russians will be missing Dutch cheese, Scottish whiskey, or Spanish or Italian wine, we are wrong. Russians never lived in luxury environment. They used to live in the poor environment, and they will live in that environment, and they are perfectly happy with that. So it must be targeted against oligarchs. Second condition for the economical sanctions, that's Russian energy sector. So Europe must stop buying not only oil, coal, but gas as well. As simple as that. Because the Russians, they will be suffering from the sanctions if they are targeted to the let's say, energy sector. Last element of first pillar is technological embargoes. I can tell you that if you open the so-called clear program for the Russian development, Russian armament development, so because of the technological embargoes, 2/3, about 60% of the programs were terminated, rescheduled, or even cancelled. So technological sanction works, but it must be done wisely, and it must be done from the third countries as well. You know, the most advanced country in the world which is buying microchips is Botswana. And have you ever heard that Botswana is well-being country? No, of course not. Because they are buying and they are selling to the bloody Russians. So technological embargoes must be done comprehensively and totally in order to eliminate Russian ability to produce the weapons. So let me finish with a couple of sentences that for Ukrainians, for the Russian, this war is war of choice. For the Ukrainians, this war is war of necessity. And I can tell you, if Russia will stop bombing us, the war will be stopped. But if we, Ukrainians, will stop fighting, Ukraine will be ended. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you much. Thank you very much. And yeah, that's a kind of very kind of clearly cut points and strategy which you outlined. The difficult part of that, I can imagine, is that it's not just our strategy, meaning Ukrainian, but it's like international strategy, right? So we should be kind of working together with our partners just to very clearly, and time is precious because time is paid by with Ukrainian blood. So for 5 years already, and it's difficult to think about another 3, 4, 5 years at such high cost. And hopefully we'll have somehow chance to get back to this kind of strategy thinking as to how this, how we should be working with our international partners, how much time we have, and what should be done first. It's my pleasure now to turn now to Professor Monti. Good to have you with us. And you have, from what I can tell, a great experience in public governance, in economics, in finances. You teach, but you also have a very kind of practical understanding of those processes. And you were vice president at, how do you call that in Italian? That would be Confindustria, is that? Yeah, I managed that. Thank you, yeah. Which is Association of Federation of Italian Businesses, essentially. And they are the founders of Luis University, which makes, I think, you so much particular. So we'd be happy to hear from you about the way you see Ukrainian reconstruction, rebuilding in the future. I may only add that for us, this is not like a future thing, which at some point probably will happen, but it's like ongoing reconstruction and rebuilding Ukraine. So that's a part of the resilience and challenges that you, as you fight, you also rebuild, reconstruct, design, improvise, and there's not that much luxury of thinking that there will be year this, whatever, 2028 or 2030, and we'll start full-fledged kind of reconstruction. But nonetheless, your experience, I think, is critical and important for us to understand what should we be planning, what's the strategy, how we could make the best use of our international partners in this regard. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really honored to be here. And I want firstly to point out that I'm not here as an Italian citizen. I'm here as a European citizen. So I have some slides.
You have slides, right?
Yes. Maybe if I can, where you prefer, I can stay there?
I think I'm going to sit over here. If that would be more convenient for you.
Okay.
To watch the presentation,
okay,
we could kind of reallocate ourselves.
Okay. So imagine for a while that I am coming back from the future, okay? So we don't mind if it's 1 year, 2 years, but I'm a European and I'm speaking with the Europeans, okay? We are inside the European Union. And the first thing I will tell you as a European is to go back to the past. Remember, the first thing we teach to our students that are approaching the European policies is this story here. In 1941, during the Second World War, Italy was with Germany fighting in Russia, fighting Ukraine and Russia, say the Russian territory. And at that moment, nobody will think that Germans will lose the war. It was in the moment of a maximal expansion of the Nazis in Europe, except 3 people. These 3 people were 3 Italian prisoners, so people against the regime. They were imprisoned into an island called Ventotene. And in 1941, they write the first European manifesto. They theorized the European Union. So it has been published in Switzerland because then they succeed. They wrote the manifesto on the cigarette cards. They put the cigarettes into a dead chicken, and the chicken was given to the wife of Spinelli. Then Spinelli has been one of the first European parliamentary after the war. The dead chicken went to Switzerland, and then they published. It took 3 years to go to Switzerland, so it was a long journey of the paper. But what is important is that the first sentence, the last sentence of the manifesto is this one: the road to pursue is neither easy, not certain, but it must be followed and it will be done. So now we go to the present and say, we don't know exactly when you will be in Europe, but you will be in Europe, no matter how much time, whatever it takes. As my first premier, Mr. Draghi, said, not ever it takes. This is the first. Second, the question is 2 days that I'm here, and the common question of the students of the UKU was why you are so convinced that we need Ukraine inside Europe, and this is a phrase written by Ralph Dahrendorf. For the countries that have finally escaped nomenclatory socialism, their return to Europe means above all the possibility of being oneself and of not getting confused with an imposed hegemonic model. So that's why we think that no European can stay under this kind of regime, so that's why we think that we have to stay together. And that is the last sentence. Leading Ukraine in the European Union is not an effort of solidarity. Before he spoke about, we changed the word support, assistance. We don't want to give assistance, but an act of responsibility for Europe's future security and well-being. And this is my sentence. I'm not so famous like Ralph Dahrendorf for the moment, and maybe in the future, I don't know. The second question is how you can get into the European Union. So from Next Generation EU to the reconstruction in Ukraine, you know about Next Generation. It has been the extraordinary financial package we used in Europe to recovery and resilience after the COVID. But we have some seminars in Rome with a parallel with the Marshall program that has been used by Americans for the reconstruction of Italy after the Second World War. And so we are studying, we are trying to avoid the same mistakes. For instance, the first mistake of the Marshall program was that Americans didn't give us the money. They give us money to buy American, only American. No, well, just responding also to the question of the colleague, I spent 9 years in the Defense Commission of the Italian Parliament. You cannot imagine how many American weapons I bought. And we were forced because we said, we need the NATO standard. You cannot use your flights, your planes. We need the NATO standards, I don't remember the number, F-15 maybe. And so we have to avoid the same mistake. The Americans, luckily, they don't give nothing for free. So the Next Generation EU, that is the program that will end this year, is a strong innovation for Europe, and so it will be the same model we will apply. Now we come back to the future. We will apply as a European to Ukraine. The Ukraine will be one of the member states, so the 28th member state of the Union. So you will practice this kind of strong innovative elements. And the innovative elements are dealing with governance, local governance. The money will not be spent at central level, but has to go to the local municipalities, and the performance-based approach. That is another very important aspect. The new investment will be measured with data. So it's not important to spend the money. The important to see how the money is impacting. So the investment should impact, the public investment should impact. Now this is maybe it's okay. The key question, what lesson from these policies and schemes can be brought to support the future reconstruction programs for Ukraine? So according to our experience, what we can share is Italy has been the biggest beneficiary of funds for the moment. So unluckily or luckily, we have a great experience in how to spend and how not to spend the money. So this is two big questions. The first is an institutional question, the relationship between programs, financial and administrative architecture, and recipients' spending capacity. You can have a lot of money, but if you don't have the manager, the local manager able to spend the money, you will get in trouble. We have some regions in Italy, we have a lot of money, but they are not able to spend the money. And they call consultants. Consultants in the short term are very good, but in the long term, they are not able to, you are the only one that can really tell what you need. If you call consultants, they will tell you what you need. That's not good. I say that for my personal experience in the southern part of Italy. The second one is democratic politics question. At the same time, how to make the design of the funds responsive to territorial specificity, so, and priorities. So this time is lasting from the, you should spend the time now. I know that you are under the war now, but the effort is to look at the future that is very near future. And I know that the mind that when you are under the war in these 2 days, I really realize what does it mean being into the war. Because the war for me is a television, newspapers, reading some news in 2 days, and I am just here for 2 days. I can imagine you are here for 4 years. But I know that it's very difficult, but I will pray you try to think to the future in Europe, because you need now to reflect on these aspects, because when you will be in, will be too late, because the money will arrive and you have to spend the money in a short time. I'm going to finish from the governance perspective. So we have just some suggestion that comes from our experience as a university involved in the development of European programs in Italy and the Mediterranean area. First, the territorial approach and the reviewing of pre-existing deliberation mechanisms. So you have maybe to reflect on how your administrative procedures to spend the money should be renewed, if it's necessary. So I don't know, it's maybe it's not a problem, it could be a problem. The second one is the democratic participation. We need the involvement of local stakeholders, and this, we had a chance to speak this morning about that, and civil society. The money and the program should not be managed just by civil servants, but we need the involvement of the civil society. It's very important. And the third one is from the technical point of view, you need a strong statistical framework, not just a national level, but a local level. You should monitor, so the impact of the funds every day. So that is probably, this is harder to do, but we need to do. You need to do. Well, I say we because then we'll be in Europe. So your problem will be our problem, and because in that future we will have an open market. So we will move. People will move from Lviv to Warsaw, to Rome, to Florence, to Paris, and the last one. From the what can university do? Certainly intensive training program. We have together to prepare the future managers, the project managers, the civil servants able to manage this kind of recovery and resilience plan. So, and this is not something that we can teach to you, but it's something we have to share. Because, for instance, your resilience is a value. We don't have that kind of resilience. So we should mix and exchange the experience. And because certainly we have also a lot of, this morning in the classroom with your students, I learned a lot of. So it's not it's a bilateral exchange. And then also the system of internal control, that's to avoid corruption. So it's, because the money will be really, in my estimation is that you will receive something like 200 billion euro in 6 years. So it's really a huge amount of money. And then the last one, the timing, it's important because the money will be linked to time. So you have to spend every year a certain amount of money and have some results. So that's important, and this is final. This is, I'm coming back to the future and show you the financial framework of 2028, 2 trillion euro for Europe, and back to the future and say you should join part of this, and good luck. I think we have to join this package together and on a solidarity basis. So according to the situation of Ukraine in 2028, you will receive the amount. It depends on the sort of GDP and unemployment, whatever. We have some data, but that is the budget. We will accompany Europe till 2034. So now I go back to the present, and thank you for the attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Professor Monti. I mean, it looks like you presented a strategy already in a few slides. And I think the message is that, well, since Italy is the largest recipient of EU funds, and since you have a rich experience of spending or not spending properly money, and since you foresee that Italy will become the second largest after Ukraine will become the first, number one, you offer some kind of training program, how to spend, how to invest, how to know how to build the future on the funds that you projected will be coming into Ukraine to build and to rebuild the country. Well, thank you for that kind of help. I think it is appreciated, and we'll work on it. Pani Dubo, now we turn to you, and it's my pleasure working jointly together and building, developing, designing program, total defense program, which is success already. I mean, why shouldn't it be? And let me then just kind of very simply ask you, since you've been kind of so much involved in kind of building, thinking, developing, well, how do we eventually convert our present day resilience into something structural, sustainable for the decades, essentially?
Thank you so much. Thank you for this discussion and for this amazing audience and knowledgeable speakers and putting me among them. I was thinking on my way here that I get this question so often delivering presentations at different international platforms, how Ukrainians withstand, how they stand so firmly, what makes you keep going? And I think you get these questions too. And obviously, there are a lot of different answers, but one of the key answers is in the title of this panel. This feeling of your community and your nation, solidarity with your people, is something that helps us a lot to keep going and keep fighting. And this is what we call solidarity, we call it resilience. Also, we know that these words are something that Ukrainian, after last winter, do not like that much, right? We are tired of these loud and general words. We need something very concrete and practical, like generators. We like these words, interceptors, drones, something like this. And but at the same time, these words are very real, very physical. They are not abstract concepts. Because they ensure both solidarity and resilience, they ensure security. And security is a shared societal function these days. And when we speak about total defense, and this is something that we hear more and more often, I'm very proud and very privileged to be part of this course, to be able to run it together with you, with Uku, with Volodymyr, with Pani Oksana Kulakovska. I think this is one of the examples how we can involve all parts of the society, because essentially total defense means that security is not responsibility of armed forces, and that every part of the society, every citizen feel that it's his or her responsibility. And what we do at this course, we bring people from different sectors, from 5 key sectors: military, business, media, civil society, and public service. And we speak about security challenges, we reflect on them, and we try to come up with solutions, what we can fix. And I believe that in Ukraine, and this is something that Russia doesn't understand. Russia often measures us with its own logic and own standards. They think if they behead, if the kind of Ukrainian state, Ukrainian government collapses, then the whole country will collapse. In our case, it goes from bottom to up, right? Civil society is the key pillar of state resilience. And I believe that this is something, total defense concept, this is something that we can bring on government level. Because yes, solidarity, resilience are like very, very good in crisis. They appear in crisis, but they're emotional and spontaneous, but we need to transform, and this is probably my main question here today, how to transform resilience to something, to system, to policy, how to bring it to the consistent and systematic level, government level. And this is what we are trying to do in our course. And I think this is going to be more and more topical for our society. And it's not only about, I fully agree that in case of that you mentioned with of international partners, it's not assistance anymore. It's assistance, it's what? It's one way, one direction interaction. But here we see full-fledged cooperation. Now finally, our partners realize that we might be useful, we actually might help. It's not that we are only asking, we are giving as well, because we are carriers of absolutely exceptional experience and exceptional knowledges. And total defense is something that can shape this vision. And I truly believe that we need to bring government on board. This is so far probably, when we speak about total defense, is, I wouldn't say the weakest actor, but still the actor that hasn't embraced fully this concept. And especially when it comes to consistency, especially when it comes to developing policy. So our task now is to bring the state, to bring government institutions to learn how to be, to learn how to develop solidarity and resilience, not to make it so ad hoc and so spontaneous. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like we should announce kind of onboarding program or for the government, just this like a final call. It's difficult to have boarding complete with the government, so it's better for the government to join, just to be able to flight, because time is indeed kind of very critical. Well, I think it's important also to send this message that yes, we are resilient, but we're also very tired. So that's what we're kind of hearing inside this country. And resilient doesn't mean that you're kind of indestructible. Resilient doesn't mean that time limits are not, there are no time limits or something. I mean, it's like it's a real powerful effort. I'm thinking now of Ukraine Catholic University. Back then in 2022, in February of 2022, and I do believe that one of the questions we had as a group of managers is whether we would be able to run university during the war, because we never ever thought of that. We never ever kind of planned this university. We never ever thought that we should be thinking a customized Ukraine Catholic University to the wartime, which was maybe kind of wrong, because I mean, now thinking backwards, some things should have been done differently in Europe, in the States, in Ukraine, not seeing, not acknowledging the threat, which was kind of growing, evolving in a very visible way. That's a huge failure, I think, which still should be somehow at some point studied. So the issue was whether we are able to run this university in time of the war, and we can. I think that's what we proved to ourselves and to our community, our students, and to the world. Yes, we can, but we don't want to. I mean, it's like, I don't want to think of this as some kind of a new brutal normality, running university during the time of the war. I mean, universities aren't meant and aren't designed to be run during the times of the war, as many other things and businesses and governments, etc. So as you mentioned, yeah, the real question is how do we kind of change that game? How do we kind of transfer this and kind of reach that kind of a new normality which we all are designed and destined to, as every human being essentially who is called to live in peace and in friendship and in kind of sharing joy and in that kind of sacrificial relationships which we are building, developing. So that's an important thing. I think we still have time, and we still have time for the questions from the audience, about 20 minutes. I'd like to ask you to think about your questions. I would also kindly ask you to introduce yourself and then stay short, please, in raising your questions. In the meantime, let me just kind of throw a question here to put on the table, and whoever of you is interested to respond, please do so. We were thinking about the future, about the strategy. We did some kind of analysis here, but I'm curious what kind of lessons you think or you personally learned from the situation you were in over the last years, looking from whatever Japanese perspective or EU internal perspective or from whatever we had experienced. If there are some kind of lessons that you think we should be aware of or kind of think about or reflect upon, just please let us know.
I would say the main lesson we all learned, is that nobody is going to come and save you. That you have to rely mostly on yourself. And just to remember, a year ago, Zelensky had this meeting with the President Trump at Oval Office, and we had this feeling that we are so abandoned. They stopped supporting us, stopped giving us, even selling us patriots. And it took some time to renew these contracts, but it actually boosted the production of our own drones, our drone interceptor. It boosted the military production here in Ukraine. That feeling that we had to rely only on ourselves helped us a lot. And I think that we should have had this feeling from the very beginning, like from 2014, and also learned from our mistakes. Last winter, that we luckily survived, showed us that we could have been prepared for such, occasions. We could have, done something. But suddenly, after, having 4 years of big-scale war, we found ourselves without, proper protected energy infrastructure. This is something that we should talk and reflect more inside the country. We have to learn on our own mistakes.
Yeah, thank you. Would someone?
Yeah, if I may, the biggest lesson for me is nothing is stable and everything is possible. So, and we must be ready. But I am optimistic about our future because we have youngsters. We have our ladies and gentlemen who will save this country. And I asked myself, just as Luba said, about us, a nation. Two weeks ago, the cruise missile exploded like 50 meters or 25 meters from my house. That was Sofievskaya Borщаговka, and that was on the TV everywhere because three houses were destroyed completely. And I remind myself when my friend from the UK called me in half an hour and said, how you feel? I said, okay, I probably will have new windows. I said, wow, good man, you will have new windows. It means I didn't complain about destroying. I just said, okay, I will have new windows. We will survive, believe me.
Yeah, we will have new windows, right?
It's not like a lesson, but I think when this war started, full-scale war started, and Russia basically isolated under sanctions. So Russia has no friends in Europe, and of course some of the Asian countries like Japan, South Korea, is fully supporting Ukraine. But all this can be historical lesson is that when Russia is in difficulty or under sanction, they are looking for opportunities in other countries, so the countries of the global south. So I think my suggestion is going to be like, okay, Ukraine it has strong supporters within this so-called coalition of the willing, so European countries, Japan, Australia. But Ukrainian diplomacy and Ukrainian civil society go beyond that. These friendly countries and go further to the Asia and Africa and Latin America. Well, yeah, Jimmy mentioned that you had a forum with Indian experts, right? And you mentioned Hennady mentioned that the one of the countries that produce the microchips for Russia is Botswana. So actually, over the past 4 years, we clearly see that Russia, Ukraine, are competing for influence in the global south. And Russia now started, especially last year, they established new directorate, Presidential Directorate for Strategic Partnership, which not only focus on the countries of the former Soviet Union, but also some countries in the Africa, Asia. And Russia tried to portray itself like, Russia is a pragmatic international player. Now, director of this newly created Presidential Director of Russia is former international department chief of Rosatom. So I really recommend the Ukrainians. I see that Ukrainian diplomacy is very active now, opening embassies in Africa and more actively engaged in Asian countries. But Ukraine, USA always you can count on Japan. Japan has many good friends in Asia, Japan, Africa. So one of the countries, Asia, Cambodia, for example, Japan and Cambodia, Japan has provided a lot of assistance in the demining of the Cambodia after civil war. And now Cambodia, together with Japan, is providing some advice to Ukraine. And Cambodia, the country which is very close to, economically, politically very close to China and Russia, is fully supporting Ukraine, right? So there is some this synergy effect when you cooperate with Japan. I think so you can count on Japan when you're engaging. Ukraine is engaging the Asian and the African countries. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that for us, a European, the lesson is that probably we are under-evaluating the timing aspect. We are in our readiness plan. We call Ukraine the porcupine, but the porcupine is tired, as you correctly. I mean, we cannot just think that you can resist forever. And I think that he said that before. I mean, the most important weapon against Russia is the economic aspect. So we should find a way to let Hungary and Czech Republic buying gas, because they are still buying gas. And so that's really and you know that in these days, Putin offered us gas again. He said, oh, don't worry about Iran, we can sell the gas. And we say no. But I think we have to, we should understand that the time is important. You cannot be the porcupine for a long, I mean, it's not a problem of army. Maybe you can resist, but the people cannot resist. I mean, we cannot just ask you to sacrifice yourself. And the sacrifice is for the young people, mainly, because I imagine the people, your colleagues that are in the army now, maybe spending 4 years or 3 years out of the school, out of the university, is what happened to our grandfather, my grandfather, when during the Second World War. You are feeling the same. So we cannot permit that a young generation, imagine even the people of 4 years old, so they just have born into the war, so that is unacceptable. So certainly that is our mistake. We have to reflect on the timing, because you cannot wait 2030 to be the porcupine of Europe, because maybe you will be there again. Maybe the war was out at that period, but one generation has been lost. So that's unacceptable.
Thank you. You would like to follow up?
Reflect on what Professor Modi said, that indeed we Ukrainians, we know that time is extremely valuable, and we pay very high price for continuing this war and for not having enough support. And a good example is 2022, where Ukrainians were actually repelling Russians from our territories. And we had this perfect chance to repel them and get them out of our borders, you remember perfectly. But we were given, teaspoons of support, teaspoons of weapons, because nobody wanted to, to give us too much. Nobody believed in us that much, so to provide us enough military assistance. And now we are in 2026, and that line, and this is something that I say to our international partners very often at the international conference, that line of people, men and women who are actually protecting the West, are getting thinner and thinner. Is getting, is exhausting, is depleting. And this is, and when it breaks, then Russian forces will go further and further. They are not going to stop, in Dnipro or Kiev or somewhere else. They will definitely go to all of your countries. And this is something that I agree Western countries have to remember, that time is something very, very valuable, and Ukrainians, they might end eventually.
Thank you so much. I do see hands in the audience, so let me, 1, 2, yeah, okay, let's go in that order. I'll give you my mic, and please just name yourself and...
Good afternoon, my name is Vladislav Sasin, and I represent here the Institute of Religion and Society of Ukrainian Catholic University. And first of all, I want to thank you for that panel. I want to address my question to Professor Monti, but maybe to all panelists. And as we now, as I understand, we are now in transition between short-term crisis management, yes, and long-term resilience planning. And as you said, the concept of solidarity now faces a test of time and domestic politics in partner countries. And my question is how the European countries, for now, can design cooperation mechanisms and maybe some institutions that can make them immune to political fluctuations and ensure uninterrupted support for Ukrainian institutions and Ukrainian stability for now.
But, sorry, your question is now or when you will join the European...
Not now.
Oh.
Now, as we see different fluctuations in different countries, European countries and also Atlantic countries, it's very important for us to understand how we can change that story for now for our gain.
Well, the problem in some of our countries, and mainly in Italy and in Germany, we have to face some parties that are still unluckily in favor of Russia. So we have some countries, the most famous one is in Germany, it's I don't remember the name of the extreme right party, and I remember that party has been voted by the eastern part of Germany, where the number of young people is 8%. So it's older people, over 50 people that are, because they are thinking maybe it was better before, And in Italy, the same. The young people is in favor of Ukraine, but we have many people voting one of the two parties. One is in the majority and the other one is opposition, that is, we call them populists. The populists, they say we don't care about the armies, we need education, we need the health care. So what we are trying to do, and also this cooperation with the Ukra University is in this line. The problem is that we need to hear your voice. We need to put your messages inside the students, inside the media. We have a problem of communication. I had a meeting with Mr. Fitto, he's the deputy president of the commission in Sicily, and I said we need to increase our army, and it was a sort of revolution against me. I mean, I cannot tell on television that because you are against the peace. That is the reaction. So it's very difficult. If you go then to the northern part of Europe, probably you don't have the problem because you feel the risk. But we are in the Mediterranean, Spain. They don't care about the war because it's so far. So I mean, we have to be realistic. So what we need from you is this kind of experience. This morning we had a meeting between students, and our students realized for the first time what does it mean being under the war. So it's a problem of communication. We have to enter your messages, and unluckily we have a lot of fake news coming from Russia. I had a meeting with the military boards of Italy about TikTok. We have malware in TikTok. So the Russians are putting TikTok messages for our young people and say that Russians are very good, Ukraine is part of Russia. I mean, we have to face this kind of problem. Unluckily, we are open, I mean, a democratic country, so if people are voting for them, I cannot say anything. So the problem is that we should accelerate this kind of process, otherwise it will be difficult to let people know the real situation and the real risk we have if the porcupine will become too tired, and if the shoreline will collapse, so we will be too late.
Thank you.
No, maybe I don't know if they want to.
Thank you. Uliana Shurko, the teacher of Catholic University, and also I represent the Institute of Leadership and Management. Yes, sorry. Thank you to all the panelists, and probably my question will go to Mr. Kovalenko. When I was listening to you, I'm also specialized in economic security. That was my doctoral dissertation. So everything that you were talking is very close to what I work with. But the question is closely to what you were saying about the economic sanctions and embargo. When you were talking to that, I was just reading the Washington Post of today, and the news posted there is the Trump administration on Thursday night, just a few hours ago, temporarily lifted sanctions on Russian oil shipments in an effort to calm markets and stem the economic fallout from its war on Iran, which has sent crude prices spiraling upward. So that's just it's told here for 1 month, but you sounded optimistic. I'm not that optimistic regarding this case. And we were talking about the time, and it seems like time is playing against Ukraine, but Russia is using it to the full force. So maybe your reflections. Thank you.
Absolutely agree with you that, thanks God we live in a free country and we can read Washington Post and New York Times and everything, and we can analyze the decision by the other leaders. And the United States is still independent and democratic country, which leader can make any decision that he would like to make. What I'm saying, and I would like to repeat that economical sanctions, it's not working for the full scale. And again, it must be targeted and it must be against the energy sector. But I would suggest to the democracies, European and the other countries, to look not for the economical sanctions, but for the technological embargoes. This is the center of gravity. That's not economical sanctions. Technological embargoes, because unfortunately we are finding microchips from different countries, including democracies from Europe, in the cruise missiles and Shaheds as well. So I suggest economical sanctions, not that much. Technological embargoes, this is the solution for the Russians. And unfortunately, we are not able to change our geography. We will live with this nasty neighbor for the long time. So I'm just predicting next question, saying how I see the future. I see the future with the short periods of ceasefire or peace deal, whatever you can call that. Short time of ceasefire and long time of the war. As simple as that. And business for the militaries, as myself and my friends, is to make these periods of ceasefire as long as possible and periods of war as short as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, I lost my power. Where's the mic? Oh, superpower. Yeah, I think we have time just for one final question. And do we have our final question here? It's over there, yeah.
Софія Опацька. My question would be to Любов and to Gennady. So it looks like we do have cards in our hands. At least this is what Professor from Japan said today. And it looks like we have this kind of, I don't know, we are a little bit forward from other countries in innovations, in R&D, military R&D. So my question may be a little bit philosophical and maybe a bit moral, but how do we really take advantage of that, but also do not become arrogant that, okay, we went through those for years, now it's your turn to go through suffering, you know? Well, I think you got the question. It looks like that.
Absolutely, I got the question, and Lyubov suggested that I will start to answer. I will give you one example. I served in NATO, Norfolk, Virginia, United States, and I was about to travel to Europe in May 2022. And in NATO, they have JALC, Joint Analysis Lessons Learned, Center in Portugal, in Lisbon. And I am emailing them, guys, I will be in Europe, and I have a lot of materials about 3 months of war. So it was hot potato, you know. And I wrote emails, so I can visit you for free. So NATO pays for my traveling, so that's not a problem. No money you're spending. Can you imagine which answer I got? So they wrote me back in a week, they wrote me back saying, sir, thank you very much for your offer. We really appreciate that. But you know, the summer season is coming. We will have summer vacation. Could you be so kind to write to us on September? Great. This is really Joint Analysis Lessons Learned Center for NATO. So I shown this email to my boss, and probably they did have a hard time, but I'm not sure. Speaking about lessons learned, I agree with you that it's we advanced, but we must remember that lessons learned is quickly rotting product, which is lessons today cannot be lessons tomorrow. And you know, everybody is speaking about lessons learned, but look, we should think about different stuff. So before lessons learned, it should be lessons identified, then lessons learned, then lessons implemented. So lessons learned, that's only the part of the process. And this loop must be as close as possible. But we have another problem. Russians, they have lessons learned, this loop as well. And I can tell you brutally honest again that if 2 years ago, the lessons learned process, this is lessons loop, for Russians was about a year. Now it's about 3 months. And unfortunately for us, Russia is totalitarian regime, and they put scientific guys on the front line. So the scientists, they are learning from the front line. We are not able to do that because, you know, we're a democratic country. And what I will see in the future, that this lessons loop for the Russian will be closed. And if they will, let's say, produce CAB, these guided bombs, well enough to be launched to Kiev and Lviv, it will be the end of the story for us. I hope that it will never happen. Thank you.
I will just amplify what Hennady has said. The thing is that the environment is very fluid and very uncertain, and this is probably the main thing we can take from it. And that's why, like for instance, like yesterday we didn't have cards, but now we have cards, but maybe tomorrow we will not have it again. So this is something we need to embrace. Coming back to the question about sanctions, like the problem with economic sanctions is that nobody polices them. So Russia is able to find all these bottlenecks in sanctions chains, and this is the problem. Like now, 2026 was supposed to be a year where Russian economy is not even, if not collapsed, but exhausted. We know that 67 regions in Russia have budget deficit. They started cutting bonuses for joining the army. They now cannot recruit the same amount of people they were able to recruit just a few months ago. They just simply do not have money to maintain this war machine. But here today we have this news. It means that they will have some money again, and we cannot be sure that it's going to last just for 1 month. So now we are again in the situation of uncertainty, and this is something that we need to embrace and acknowledge, and to learn how to play in this environment. Because so far we see that Ukrainians very often, they kind of won one battle and they kind of enjoy this victory for sometimes when we don't lose something, somewhere on their backs. And this is what we need to embrace, to learn how to live in uncertainty.
Yeah, thank you so much. We already kind of moved ourselves into the kind of coffee time, so we're kind of working at the expense of coffee. But Professor Monti and Professor Hosaka, I mean, if you would like to take your 30 seconds for kind of final couple of sentences, you can do that, please. Would you like?
Okay. I often receive same question that from Japanese media, when this war will end. Last year, no. But okay, and Putin and Zelensky, they cannot agree on anything at the end of the day. This question of the sovereignty and territorial integrity is not divisible. But I think Putin and Zelensky actually on the same page about one thing: pleasing the U.S. President Donald Trump serves national interests of both each country, and so this uncertainty all comes from the United States. I think last year, European security officials spent more time on the U.S., not on Russia. And if you look at the national security strategy U.S., which published last year, December last year, U.S. is now pursuing civilizational things, traditional values, And actually, as you mentioned, the very strange thing, now Russia and the US are supporting the same political forces in Europe, right? AfD, Marine Le Pen. So the US will be just source of the all turmoil in the coming years.
Thank you. Professor Monti, would you like?
I have no words anymore. Say,
Which is
but it's clear that we cannot. I mean, my impression is that our big enemies is the first one is time, and the second one is the United States. So, no, it's an. I mean, I don't should I tell that, but I'm afraid because also is trying to with the duties, is trying to is menacing our economy. So it's really hard time. So I think that we should learn from you the resilience, because we should be resilient against the U.S. attack. But it's an economic attack. It's a heavy economic attack. He's selling us gas for 3 times the price of the Russians. So we are buying gas very expensive. So also we do not know how we can resist in the energy. So the energy problem for us is because if the energy problem will not be solved, we will when I answer to the gentleman there, the risk is that the populists in Europe will raise, no? You say, so we are fighting the same. Obviously, I mean, we are not in the war like that, but we are fighting the same war. And and the lesson of today for me was very important, because I hope that my country and Europe will be resilient as you are resilient.
Well, thank you. My feeling is that I have to conclude this conversation when it's getting kind of really more and more interesting and exciting. But I mean, that's the way we kind of try to handle time and management. One final thing. I'm deeply kind of grateful to all of you for coming to here, for being with us, for standing with us, for sitting with us here at the panel discussion. That's very much appreciated. And one thing which is important for us and for me personally, we kind of celebrate 10th anniversary of the Faculty of Social Sciences, which was established, another kind of UKU startup. We just live in the country of startups in 2016. So I would like just to present you with kind of these bags. I mean, these are brand new. We never made them before. It says 10 years. So you're almost the first recipients of those tokens of our friendship, and thank you very much. You truly deserve our applause and gratitude. And you're always welcomed here. Thank you so much. All the best. And now we reunite here at 4 sharply.